Total announced yesterday a bid to buy 60% of SunPower. Does this herald a new push for Total into renewable energies?
It has always been the intention for Total to get more involved in renewable energies. And we were looking at opportunities in the solar industry for more than 2 years. We screened about 200 different companies, and it arrives that with SunPower we have been able to achieve an agreement. It's not only a 60% bid, it's also a cooperation we are going to enter with SunPower.
Is SunPower technology, what drove the choice?
The choice is very simple, is that SunPower is a leader in its technology. The efficiency of their solar cell is 22%, where the other in the industry efficiency is about 16%, sometimes 18%. So it's technologically a very advanced company, and it is the leader in the US.
After the accident in Japan at Fukushima, Total was one of the only oil companies, is the only oil company to have announced a little foray into nuclear. Has this page been turned now and the focus is now on sun?
It is obvious that Fukushima, it's an event that you cannot forget. And nevertheless, we are convinced that the nuclear power, the nuclear source of energy is necessary to balance the supply and demand in the world. That's why we are still interested in nuclear power plant. I remind you that we had an 8% stake in the Penly power plant project in France. Of course, it will be a long process, and we will screen very carefully the follow-up of the event after Fukushima.
To get back to oil, Total announced results this morning, first quarter results, adjusted profit is higher by 35%, but with that and the conflict in Libya came a 2% drop in production. Will you be able to keep the promises that you've made to analysts and investors that production will rise in the coming years?
Yeah, we are still confident with our forecast of a 2% growth of production for the next 5 years, let's say. I remind you that yes, we lose some production in Libya, and we are not forecasting a restart of this production soon. In addition to that, we have sold our CEPSA affiliate, but I'd like to remind you that we acquired 12% of Novatec, which will bring us about 120,000 barrels per day of production. So we are very confident that we will match our 2% target of growth of production for the forthcoming years.
It's very hard to predict when Libyan production will come back, but have you had any information at all about damage to installations?
It seems that as of today we have not damaged our installation, but we are not on the ground today, so it's honestly we have no recent information on the status of our wells on the site.
The Novatec production, when could that start showing up in Total?
The Novatec transaction was closed on 1st of April, so you will see the production coming in our books at the second quarter of this year.
And what is your forecast for when the new projects associated with that will begin?
You're talking about the Yamal project. We intend to close the Yamal project transaction by, let's say, this summer, maybe July, maybe a little bit later, but by this summer. And we forecast the production starting in the forthcoming, let's say, 4 years thereafter.
Which is a medium to longer term, which is what some people who watch Total, analysts and investors, are saying. There's a lot of promise in many of the projects that Total has undertaken, but it's in the longer term, and they're having trouble. They're becoming impatient with production growth sooner.
We give confidence to the market that we are able to grow our production in the forthcoming 5 years at a rate of 2% a year. And this is already booked, I would say. All the projects are launched. And it is true that we are launching a new wave of projects like ICTIS in Australia, like GLNG, like Fort Hills in Canada. The same with the Yamal project, which will give more forecast available for the analysts beyond 2015.
Today's statement talked about focus on orientating Total more towards the upstream. Is this a new push into exploration and production?
It has always been our strategy, and we make always it clear to the market to increase the capital employed dedicated to the upstream division up to something like 80% by 2015. And we remain on this target, which is to slightly increase from 75 today up to 80% by 2015, the capital employed in the upstream division.
And how will that be done? What are the geographic and types of energy?
You have all those new projects we announced in Australia, in Russia, in Canada also, which will lead us to increase our capital employed in those areas.
Will Total move into even more gas, for instance, and more unconventionals in the future?
Unconventional gas and unconventional oil is part of our business, and we wanted to be involved in this part of the business. That's definitely true. Currently, we are 45% gas, 55% oil. This may move slightly, but not to a large extent. So we will remain in this type of sharing between gas and oil. But definitely, we wanted to be involved in unconventional gas production, like we did with GLNG in Australia with Santos, like we did with Chesapeake in the US.
There's going to be an estimated 10 billion in asset sales in 2011.
That's correct.
That includes Sanofi shares?
That includes Sanofi, that includes Cepsa also.
And does that include the Lindsay refinery in the UK?
That's included.
So what is the cost estimate for that sale? How much would that
I won't tell you because we are still in the bidding process.
How close are you to announcing a sale?
It's a matter of 1 to 2 months.
1 to 2 months.
Yeah.
And on Sanofi, has anything changed? Do you think you will have completed the sale sooner than the 2012?
We make also clear that we will have ended our program of selling Sanofi by late 2012, and we are on this target.
Not earlier then?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Total has also said it wants to be bolder in exploration.
Yeah.
Has that borne any fruit for the moment?
I just like to point out 3 wells, for instance, that we are drilling this year. One in Azerbaijan, the Absheron well, which is a deep well. We started drilling this quarter, and we will have the result of this risky but promising but risky well by late this year. In addition to that, we have a well spud in French Guiana, which is interesting because it is the same concept, the abrupt margin concept of the discovery made in Ghana, for instance. And we will start, drilling in Brunei late this summer, let's say 3rd quarter, with result by year-end also. So this shows that we have the first result of our new policy is made through those wells where hopefully, of course, there is no certainty with exploration, but hopefully we will make some discoveries.
That's in-house discoveries. Could there also be a push to acquire bolder explorers?
We will make this year about $10 billion of acquisition. I'm not saying enough is enough, and if there is opportunity, we will continue to capture those opportunities, of course. But why not? I mean, there is nothing in the pipeline today, but if there is opportunity, there is no reason we don't catch them.
Is it a good time now to make acquisitions?
You know, when we made acquisition, we generally bring our expertise, our know-how, and there is some kind of partnership between the seller and us, the buyer, where by bringing our expertise, we are giving value to the asset. That's why in exchange, we get access to those resources at a reasonable price. This has been done with GLNG, for instance, in Australia with Fictis, for instance.
With acquisitions will also come asset sales. Will there be further? There was a whole program by Total to sell or reduce European refining. Will that be continued after this current?
We have made a lot. I remind you that we have sold Cepsa, which is the main refiner. It's a big sale. We closed the Dunkirk refinery. We merged our activity in Italy, and we are in the process of selling our refinery in the UK. At that stage, I think it's okay. Of course, we will have to continue and adapt our assets to the evolution of the market, and the consumption in Europe is going down. That's a matter of fact, which is good for CO2 emission, but we will have certainly in the future to continue and adapt ourselves.
What are Total's investment plans in China?
If there is an opportunity to develop a project in the downstream and petrochemical sector, I think we will try and catch it.
And in exploration and production?
We have a project which name is Sulige, which has been approved by CNPC, and we are waiting for the approval of the authorities to start production pretty soon.
How much will investment be in that field?
I think in aggregate it's about $1 billion.
For Total?
No, in aggregate.
In aggregate, right. Okay. And what about Brazil?
We made a discovery, Shell being the operator. I mean, being frank, it is a hole in our portfolio. Once again, if there is opportunity, we will try and capture them. But the last transaction we have seen, the sale by Repsol to a Chinese company, is extremely expensive.
Meaning prohibitory for Total?
Yeah, meaning too expensive for us.
So is Brazil sort of something that Total may just have to live without?
No, you never know. It might be also a way for us to once again bring our expertise in deep offshore drilling and establishing partnership with Petrobras, for instance, and get access to some resources through this way. When you bring your expertise, you get access to resources at a more reasonable price.